and welcome back to the West Garfield Park Youth Council, where we believe we are the solution to violence in our communities. We have another impactful, powerful show for you all this evening, so we want you all to sit back, relax, put those thinking caps on, and enjoy the show. Good evening, everyone. My name is David Elam, and I'm the President Emeritus of the West Garfield Park Youth Council, which is sponsored by Fathers Who Care. Fathers Who Care is a non-for-profit organization on the west side of Chicago within the West Garfield Park community. Again, everyone, my name is David Elam, and I'm the President Emeritus of the West Garfield Park Youth Council. The West Garfield Park Youth Council has been comprised of 30 youth, which has increasingly grown since our last season, whose main focus is to be nonviolent youth citizens on the west side of Chicago. We invite people to come out, especially youth, to come see what we're all about. We meet every Monday from 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. at 4540 West Washington Boulevard. Our show can be viewed every Thursday at 7 o'clock p.m. Again, that's every Thursday at 7 o'clock p.m. We invite people to call in with your questions and comments at 312-738-1060. Again, that's 312-738-1060. Well, everyone, we want to get right into the midst of the show. I don't want to take up any too much time from the guest that I have brought out for you all this evening. She's phenomenal. I've heard her speak. She attends our monthly community forums, and now I'm going to give her a chance to let you all know who she is and the great work that she does.
Thank you. I'm Ann Rufa. I have a PhD in clinical psychology, and I'm currently a postdoctoral fellow at Rush University Medical Center, working with veterans, homeless youth, and also others who have been impacted by trauma.
So,
Yeah.
Can I call you Dr. Ann?
You may, yes.
All right, all right. You're watching a live interactive television broadcast brought to you today by CAN TV Channel 21. During the next 25 minutes, we're going to be discussing the topic of addressing the stigma associated with mental health. Again, that's addressing the stigma associated with mental health. And we invite people to call in with their questions and comments at 312-738-1060. Again, that's 312-738-1060. Our phone lines are now open. Well, Miss Dr. Ann, I have a few questions for you if you don't mind. Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, first question I want to ask you is, what is mental health?
Well, mental health is a very broad topic. So, a lot of times when people hear mental health, they think things like it's only people who are crazy or who are really have a lot going on. But it could also just be how you feel stressed out when you have a test or when you have something going on. So it's really it's kind of like physical health. Anytime that you have some sort of thing going on, it could be mental health. And so we all have it. You might be doing really well, you might not be doing well, and there's any spectrum in between.
Okay. Second question. What are some effects of mental health?
Well, a lot of the ways that you might know if someone was struggling with their mental health is if you see any major change or if they're not able to do things that you would expect most people to be able to do. Like most folks are able to work unless they have a specific disability. If someone's having a difficult time getting to work, getting out of bed, doing things they like, that might be a mental health issue. If relationships are struggling, that might be a mental health issue.
Okay. What is trauma?
Trauma is also a very broad topic. So that refers to when someone has an experience where maybe their life was threatened, or they witnessed something that threatened their life, or even if you just learn about something really terrible that happened to someone close to you. That can lead to a traumatic reaction, which is kind of our body's way of saying that something's wrong and we need to figure out a way to stay safe.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, my name is David Elam, and I'm the President Emeritus of the West Garfield Park Youth Council. And my guest this evening is the phenomenal Dr. Ann Rufa. and we are discussing the topic of addressing the stigma associated with mental health. Again, that topic is addressing the stigma of mental health. I have some more questions if that's okay. I want to just keep the ball rolling.
Keep it
here.
going.
Okay, another question I want to ask you is,
Okay.
how can you tell, again, how can you tell when someone is mentally ill?
That's a really tough one because it looks really different depending on what's going on with someone. As I said, like someone might have a difficult time getting out of bed. There might be a big change in how they usually are. They might be really angry or really anxious, like start avoiding things that they usually like. So it's really hard to tell, actually. Like a lot of people you might not know just by looking at them or by talking to them.
Okay. Do you think people who have, now this is one that I really want to know about myself.
Okay.
Do you think people who have mental health issues are a danger to society?
No. I mean, not only because of a mental health issue. So there's certainly an overlap of, sometimes the issue that someone's having could have them behave in a way that's dangerous to someone or even to themselves. But in and of itself, having a mental health issue does not mean that someone's going to be dangerous to someone else. And that's even for the mental health issues that are more, that we think of as being like more concerning. So things like schizophrenia doesn't mean that someone's going to be a danger to someone else.
What is schizophrenia?
Schizophrenia is a type of mental health disorder where typically people, I guess the easiest way to put it is they might lose touch with reality a little bit. So that's like when people maybe, sometimes they hear things that other people don't hear or see things that other people don't see, or even believe things that are strange. Like they might think that I'm talking directly to them through the TV right now, something like that.
And I see we have our first caller of the evening. Is that okay if we entertain some calls?
Sure.
Okay. Hello, caller. Thank you so much for calling. You're on the air with Miss Dr. Ann Rufa. Your comment or question, please.
I have a question for Dr. Ann, and my question is, what is the most difficult part of dealing with someone who has a mental health issue?
Yeah, so some of the most difficult parts, I would say, again, it depends on what the concern is. But a lot of times, if it's someone in your life, it's that you just don't really know what to say or what will help them. And I think that can take a toll on people, is to not really know how can I be there for someone. And it's absolutely normal, especially if someone's behaving in a way that is kind of strange or scary, that you might feel uncomfortable. And that's okay too, because we have to make sure we're taking care of ourselves.
Next caller. Hello, caller. Thank you so much for calling. You're on the air with Dr. Ann Rufa. Your comment or question, please.
I have a question.
Yes. Hello? Caller? Okay, it seems that we lost that call.
Yeah.
Next caller. Hello, caller. You're on the air with Dr. Ann Rufa. Your comment or question, please.
My question is, how do you know when someone has a mental health issue?
Yeah, that's tough. And unfortunately, you might not. So there might be some signs. I think it's always good to look out for like major changes in how someone's behaving or how they're doing. Like if they used to be really good at something and now they don't want to do it or they're not doing as well, that could be a sign. But, a lot of people have mental health issues and you never know it.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, my name is David Elam, and I'm the President Emeritus of the West Garfield Park Youth Council. And my guest this evening is Dr. Ann Rufa, and we're discussing the topic of addressing the stigma associated with mental health. A few things. The West Garfield Park Youth Council is always looking for volunteers and parents to come out and volunteer with the West Garfield Park Youth Council So if you know anyone who's looking, any parents or volunteers out there, so please contact us at 773-287-5821. Again, that's 773-287-5821. Also, Fathers Who Care in collaboration with Yes Chicago are currently looking for jobs and training opportunities for young people. Again, that's with Fathers Who Care in collaboration with Yes Chicago are currently seeking and looking for jobs and training opportunities for young people. So if you know anyone or if you are someone who has jobs or opportunities for young people, please contact Fathers Who Care directly at 773-287-5821. Again, that's 773-287-5821. Next caller. Hello, caller. Thank you so much for calling. You're on the air with Dr. Ann Rufa. Your comment or question, please.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why is it so hard for people to talk about mental illness?
That's a good one. I think that a big issue there is that people feel really uncomfortable because for any number of reasons, sometimes when you share that you have a mental health concern, or you might worry if you ask about it, that people will assume that you have one, and they might then judge you because it's really misunderstood. So they might think things that aren't necessarily true about you. And so I think it's really hard because people are worried about what others might think if they did talk about it.
Some of the things that we discuss over with the West Garfield Park Youth Council for young people between the ages of 13 and 24 years old. Like I said, we're always looking for young people to come out and join our organization. Some of the things that we discuss are preventing all forms of substance abuse, school and gang violence, anti-bullying, cyberbullying, teen dating awareness, avoid being a victim of peer pressure, conflict resolution, my favorite. Youth empowering our community, how to promote a safe and drug-free community, another one of my favorites, and mentoring our future leaders. And we want young people to please come out and see what we're all about. Once again, we meet every Monday from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. at 4540 West Washington Boulevard. If you are a young person or a parent that have young people who need something to do and need to be actively involved in their community and want to know how to do so, please come out and join the West Garfield Park Youth Council. For more information about us and how you can get involved with us, please contact us at 773-287-5821, or you can visit our website at www.fatherswhocare.org. And I see we have more callers. We're going to get to the rest of those.
Sounds good.
Hello, caller. Thank you so much for calling. You're on the air with Dr. Ann Rufer. Your comment or question, please.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. It's a really great show. I heard you earlier mention how to identify some potential issues when it comes to mental health, but my question is more geared specifically toward very young children or even teenagers. Once they get into that adolescent age with hormones and things like that, they tend to start acting different. So how can you notice, either in a child or in a teenager, some specific things that aren't just growing pains or someone who's acting out at a certain age that would be a telltale sign of something you might want to take your child to the doctor for?
Yeah, great question. I think one thing that is often impacted is sleep. So if there are big changes in sleep, or if a child isn't sleeping as much as you think he or she should, that might be a good sign that something is going on. And also another big one for children and adolescents are big changes in grades. So if you have a child who's typically done really well and all of a sudden those grades start slipping, it could be that it's just a hard class or things are getting difficult or they're overwhelmed. But sometimes it could be a sign of things like depression and just kind of that low motivation that comes with that.
Next caller. Hello, caller. Thank you so much for calling. You're on the air with Dr. Ann Rufa. Your comment or question, please.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Can someone who has a mental illness live a normal life?
Yeah, I would say so. Mental health issues can definitely impact the way that you're living your life, and you might not be doing things that you want to do as much as you used to or as much as you wish you were. But a lot of people live every day with support with, things like anxiety, depression, and even recovery from trauma. People can live pretty normal lives as long as they're getting that support that they need and continuing to work on things.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, if you're just tuning in, my name is David Elam, and I'm the President Emeritus of the West Garfield Park Youth Council. And my guest this evening is Dr. Ann Rufa from Rush University. And we are discussing the topic of addressing the stigma associated with mental health. Again, that's addressing the stigma associated with mental health. Really quickly, Dr. Ann Rufa here has an event
Yeah, I
associated
can
with
tell a little bit
an
about
event that's going on. You want to share that?
Sure. So some of my colleagues at Rush University are having an event called Walk with a Doc. So they're doctors who are holding an 8-week community walking program with folks in the community who want to come out and walk. And it's a good opportunity to get out, get some exercise, but also you can talk to doctors that are there about any questions you might have and get tips from a physician from Rush University. So that's starting, it looks like this Saturday. Again, some of my colleagues from Rush University, some medical doctors will be hosting that.
It will be, like Miss Ann said, it will be a free 8-week community walking program where it will be taking place. It will be taking place at New Mount Pilgrim Missionary Baptist Church. That is 4301 West Washington Boulevard. That will be Saturdays, I believe every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m., which will be the first walk. The first walk will actually take place this Saturday, June 24th. It's the West Side Walk to Wellness, Walk with a Doc. And for more information on that event, you can contact our Fathers Who Care at 773-287-5821. That number again is 773-287-5821. And I see we have another caller. Hello, caller. Thank you so much for calling. You're on the air with Dr. Ann Rufa. Your comment or question, please.
Hi, I had a question. My question is, what are the more common types of mental illness or mental health problems?
Good question. So I'd say some of the most common types are even just everyday stress and anxiety. A lot of people struggle with anxiety, whether it's about taking tests, public speaking, social anxiety, so being around others and knowing what to say. And then I would say difficulty just managing emotions. So things like having a really hard time managing anger or managing feelings of sadness and getting kind of caught up in depression. Those are probably the most common that I can think of.
Okay, another question I want to ask you is, how can mental illness or mental illnesses be treated?
That's a good question too. There are a lot of different ways. So one way that I do not personally do are medications. Sometimes that is a good option for people. Other ways are taking part in therapy, so individual or group therapy with others with similar difficulties, with some sort of trained therapist or clinician. And other than that, I think it's also important to remember just making sure that you're doing things you enjoy, especially for things that aren't as serious or severe. You can always improve some of your mental health by doing things you really like or getting social support from people that you care about.
So, it's from my understanding, you also specialize in crisis intervention, correct?
Yes, I work with trauma quite often.
Can you give us a little insight on exactly what crisis intervention actually is?
Yeah, well, so crisis intervention refers to when something really serious happens. So it could be if there is a situation where someone's hurt or even someone's like really thinking about hurting themselves, then that would be something we would think of as a crisis. And in those times, it's really important that someone is available to come in, or the right people are called so that they can address the situation and really just de-escalate it, whether it's helping someone to not hurt themselves or kind of like talk them through whatever's going on where they might want to hurt someone else.
Okay. And I see we have another caller. Hello, caller. Thank you so much for calling. You're on the air with Dr. Ann Rufa. Your comment or question, please.
What causes mental illness?
What causes mental illness, I believe is the question?
Yes.
Okay. It can come from a lot of different places. So for some people, it can run in the family. It could be something in your genetics or something that happens through your biology, so like something physical. Sometimes it's you have a really tough situation, and that puts you in a place where you're feeling really upset or sometimes trauma comes from that if there's a situation that people are experiencing. So it can come from all sorts of different places. Ongoing stress, being critiqued really severely when you're younger and kind of developing anxiety. So there are lots of different ways.
In the lives of young people, how would you best deal with a young person that may be experiencing a mental health issue but is not sure? How do you best deal with that situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think something that's really important is that young people have a place where they feel they can talk about it. Because sometimes it might just be normal stress. Everyone has that sometimes. And sometimes it might be more than that. So having environments and adults and trusted people where youth can come to that person and say that they're struggling with something and that they have questions is really important. And that way that person can kind of direct them to the right place to go.
So can your environment that you're surrounded in cause a mental health?
It can definitely contribute. I think it's often hard for us to see directly what the cause is, depending on the situation. But your environment absolutely impacts your mental health and can be a positive thing, something that helps it, or something that hurts it.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, my name is David Elam, and I'm the president emeritus of the West Garfield Park Youth Council, and you're watching Ken TV with us, the West Garfield Park Youth Council television show. And my guest this evening is Dr. Ann Rufa, and we are discussing the topic of addressing the stigma associated with mental health. Again, that's addressing the stigma associated with mental health. I must say, Miss Dr. Ann, that I'm learning a lot of things that I didn't know about this topic, and being educated about this topic and being informed about a lot of things that I didn't know.
I'm glad to hear that.
Who better to educate than the doctor, right?
Yeah, sure.
Next caller. Hello, caller. Thank you so much for calling. Your comment or question, please.
Hello, my question is, once someone has been diagnosed with mental illness, will they ever get better?
Yeah, it depends on the mental illness. There are some that it may not be that you'll ever be completely free of it, but with that support and with treatment, you can definitely live a normal life, or close to normal, depending on how serious it is. And, for other things, like especially if it's situational, you can get better. So it kind of depends on what the mental health issue is, but I would say for most people, you can get better in the sense that even if it's something you struggle with for the rest of your life, you're still able to handle it better than you were before.
Doctor, in some cases, can it be in some cases or some situations where someone can actually be misdiagnosed with a mental health issue?
Absolutely. It happens really frequently, actually. And, so one that I think of a lot is that we started to realize in the field of psychology that a lot of youth who were being diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder were actually dealing with the effects of trauma. So for kids, it can look really similar. Some people might, in teenagers especially, you might look angry, but you're actually really sad. So sometimes we think someone has an anger problem, but they're actually really depressed. So it can be really common for that to happen.
So it can be more than one. Can someone it can be more than one mental illness, but can someone actually be diagnosed with more than one mental health illness at one point in time?
Yes, they can. So, for example, I'll use ADHD as an example again. Sometimes people have that, and they also have anxiety. So our fancy word for it is we call it being comorbid, to say that things can happen at once. And that's, depression and anxiety happen at the same time a lot because a lot of these things overlap or can contribute to the other one. If you're really sad and then you are worried that your friends don't like you because you're not fun anymore, you might become really anxious about it. And so it's pretty common for people to have more than one.
And I see we have another caller. Hello, caller. Thank you so much for calling. Your comment or question, please.
Yeah, my question is, what is post-traumatic stress disorder?
Good question. So post-traumatic stress disorder is a disorder that develops as the result of a traumatic event. So something where a life was threatened or there was a sexual assault, could be things that would develop this stress reaction. Everyone has it, to be honest, in the first, immediate aftermath of a trauma happening. If it persists over time, then someone can develop what we call post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a whole cluster of different symptoms. It can look different person to person, where someone's dealing with the effects of that. And, typically it's that they're avoiding things that remind them of the trauma, that they are really jumpy. If you've ever noticed like someone being really startled really easily, that could be it. They might get depressed. So it can look a lot of different ways, but it's always a response to a significant stressor or trauma.
Another question. What is the stigma associated with mental health in the African American community?
That's a tough one. So I think it varies person to person and community to community. Some of the folks I've worked with, what comes up a lot is that if someone has a mental health issue, they're crazy or there's something wrong with them. And that's not necessarily the case. As we've talked about today, there's a whole spectrum of difficulties people can have that are quite common. And so I've heard that. I've also heard sometimes that it's, that there's something wrong or that it's almost a sin to have a mental health disorder. And so all of those things contribute to how comfortable someone is admitting that they're struggling.
Last question. What are some different types of mental illnesses?
There are a whole bunch of different types. So it could be anxiety or depression. You could be struggling with adjusting to something. You might have difficulties with anger or what we call like oppositional defiance. You might have trauma. You might have relational problems. There's any number of things that fall under that umbrella.
Okay, well, Ann, I want to thank you once again, Dr. Ann. I want to thank you once again for being a guest on our television show.
Yes, thank you.
We want people to come out and join the West Garfield Park Youth Council. Like I said once before, we meet every Monday from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. at 4540 West Washington Boulevard. Also, once again, Yes Chicago, in collaboration with Fathers Who Care, are currently looking for jobs and training opportunities for young people. So if you know anyone or if you are someone with jobs and training opportunities for young people, please contact Fathers Who Care at 773-287-5821. Again, that's 773-287-5821. Join us next week, same time, same place. We love you. God bless you. Keep the faith. Good night.